100 malls burnt, 3,000 stores looted, 1.5 billion in stock loss, 1,400 ATMs damaged, 300 banks and post offices vandalized, 20 billion impact to the KZN GDP, and 50 billion rand impact on the national GDP. Good morning, fellow South Africans. My name is Dr. Kirshen Pillay, and I feel your pain. You are not just a statistic or a number. And it is for this reason that the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry, together with the Graduate Institute of Financial Sciences, is hosting you today. Whilst we cannot address all your concerns, we can certainly commit to helping ensure speedy economic recovery by mobilizing the insurance sector to support you and your business. And to this end, we've called upon an army of our own. Joining us this morning to be of service to you are the doyens of industry, the big chiefs, if you will. These key stakeholders from business and insurance are Mpumi Zwane, a very familiar face to KZN business community, a mother of two, a fellow business owner, multi-award-winning business executive, financial director at Unilever, and your Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry board member. Mpumi, thank you for joining us today and for initiating such a phenomenal session and platform to help affected businesses in KZN. Kicking off our insurance panel is Carla Jordan. Carla is the CFO of Emerald Risk Transfer and the past president of the Insurance Institute of Gauteng, as well as the IIG Exco member. When she's not strategizing and negotiating in the boardroom, you'll find Carla on the sports field or running trails with her young son. Carla, welcome to today's session and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kirshen.
Moving on to our next panelist. Our next panelist that is joining us from a company that has been on everyone's lips for the last couple of weeks, with over 2 decades of experience in the short-term insurance industry, Executive Manager for Insurance Operations at Sasria, Farida Benjamin. Now, Farida, I know that you've been inundated with media interviews and ensuring that claims are being paid out. So thank you for taking the time, that is your limited time, to spend it here with us today. So welcome, Farida, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Our next panelist is former Durbanite, past president of the Insurance Institute of Gauteng, the managing director for sales distribution at Marsh Africa. Zuriel Naika, this global citizen and change maker, is the insurance muscle that you would want on your side in times like this. Zuriel, thank you for joining us.
Kirshen, thanks for including us at this important time. Great to see you and also to connect once again with the KZN community.
Thank you, Zuriel. We look forward to hearing more of you as the day unfolds. Last, but certainly not least, to complete our powerhouse panel, joining us today is Thokozile Mahlangu. Thokozile is an insurance game changer, strategist, and respected insurance professional with over 20 years of experience within the insurance industry. Thokozile is the Chief Executive Officer of the Insurance Institute of South Africa. Thokozile, welcome to today's session, and thank you for taking the time to share your expertise with the KwaZulu-Natal business community.
Thank you for having the ISA, Christian, on this an important initiative. Thanks.
Thank you, Thokozile. Ladies and gentlemen, I also noticed that joining us today, and we need to leverage all opportunities that we have. So I see online, we have a very seasoned insurance professional, Mr. Peter Olliott, who is a real champion for SMMEs. Peter is the president of the Trade Association of FIA. He's also a fellow of the Insurance Institute of South Africa and the current CEO of India Risk. Peter, before I get on to formal proceedings, I'm going to put you on the spot because we want to maximize our benefit to the audience here today. And if you don't mind, Peter, firstly, good morning to you. I think we're having some challenges with Peter. All right, I think we will move along. And when Peter's back on, we will definitely try and get him to... Peter, do we have
I think I'm on. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. So, Peter, I'm sorry to do this to you, but we have to take every opportunity we can to maximize the opportunity for our audience. So, Peter, as I said, I'm going to put you on the spot as a champion for SMEs, as well as having handled multi-million rand claims personally. To kick off today's session, what advice can you offer to SMEs during this challenging time?
Okay, so the first one is whether you're insured or uninsured. The most important thing is to formulate the loss. So whether it's stock or it's affected your trade or income, it's important to have all your necessary documentation ready to prove or substantiate one's loss. And that includes making sure that your tax receipts and tax accounts are up to date and accurate, because that's what insurers use to determine the extent or quantum of your claim. SASRIA has been really great in sending out announcements. One went out this morning, it's communique number 94, which sets out in detail the information that will be required to substantiate a claim. So for the SMMEs who have brokers, their brokers should be receiving that communique this morning, and they will be able to advise their clients what is required. For those that don't have, I can forward the communique 94 to someone. If you could just designate them, I'll send it through this morning to them.
Thank you, Peter. And again, thank you for your time. And we couldn't not make maximum use of the opportunity of having you online and joining us. So to kick things off today, I think we need to start with Farida. So I'd like to pose my first question to you, Farida, from SASRIA. Through my engagement with the Durban Chamber of Commerce and business owners affected by rioting across South Africa, what I've come to find is that a lot of queries are being directed directly through to SASRIA. Now, what I want to know and what I would like us to inform our business owners on, is that the correct channel to direct all queries to SASRIA? Will that speed up our claims process? Or will it in fact slow it down? So Farida, if you can just answer those questions specifically and then just give us an overarching overview of what the role of SASRIA is and how from a SASRIA perspective we can fast track the claim process, if you don't mind. Over to you, Farida.
Thank you. So I think in order to answer that comprehensively, I need to start with the second part of that question, and that's how SASRIA overarching works. So SASRIA's policy or coupon is sold on the back of a normal insurance policy. And therefore, in terms of our communication, the insurance companies who we view as our agent companies has the information regarding what you have insured. And therefore, in terms of the claims process or information, the first point of call would be your broker or your insurance company, as they would have the information that you require in terms of how you need to claim or what you're on cover for. And to facilitate the speedy process, I would advise that people speak to their broker or the insurance company where they do not have a broker, to ensure that they have the relevant information and that they are attended to quite speedily.
Farida, thank you for that. So there we have it. So ladies and gentlemen, what we've come to hear and what Farida is saying categorically, that contacting SASRIA is in fact counterproductive to the claims process, and all claims should be channeled directly through to the insurer or via your broker. So with that being said, let's get a perspective from the insurer on this. So Carla, I would like to get your insight on this. Now, I'm going to be taking on the view of being a business owner, and I'm going to say to you, I'm a business owner that has now been affected or impacted by rioting. What happens once I submit this claim to you? How does this process work? What does it look like from an insurer perspective? Carla, over to you.
Thanks, Kirshen. As Emerald or as insurers, SASRIA appoint agents in the industry. So Emerald, for example, the company that I work for, is an agent of SASRIA. That means that we through the broker, we're a fully intermediated business. Our broker will come, or the broker for the client will come to Emerald, and we will issue the coupons and collect the premium, which is then paid over to SASRIA. So we're almost a middleman, for want of a better words, in terms of this. We have been given a mandate from SASRIA in this time to settle claims up to a certain amount. But the claim, as Farida and Peter both alluded to, would have to follow the normal claims process. So that means that your claim needs to be lodged. And when I say lodged, you just have to notify your broker, or if you don't have a broker, directly to your insurer, that you actually have a claim. Whether you can quantify that claim right now is not really important, but the 30 days that you have to lodge that claim is important. And then from there, you need to start getting all your information together, as Peter said as well. So this is anything that will help you to substantiate your claim. For example, photos, stock records, yes, your annual financial statements, anything that you have that is going to help you substantiate your loss or quantify your loss. And that, from an insurance perspective, is really the most important thing.
So thank you for that, Carla. So basically what you're saying is there's a stipulated period of time. There's a set bundle of documents that needs to be put into place. These documentations need to be collated by the client and then submitted to you as the insurer. And from there, you, acting as the intermediary or the middleman, will then submit the relevant documentation through. And obviously through to SASRIA. And obviously those time bars are important. Thank you very much for that, Carla. Thanks for the clarity.
There is a question about the mandates that SASRIA has given. I think Farida is best placed to answer that. I'm not sure if all the mandates are the same. Yeah, so I don't think I can comment on the mandate that Emerald, for example, has been given. But yeah, that's essentially how it works. And remember that if you have a broker, you need to work through your broker. You can't go directly to your insurer.
Fantastic. Farida, do you want to just jump in there and add to what Carla has said?
Yeah, Kirshen. So in terms of the mandate that was given on Monday, and I'm trying to remember, the 12th of July, we did send out a circular communique to say that all our agent companies has got a mandate to settle urgent claims up to a value of 50,000 Rand. And that was to just get the smaller claims where people needed windscreens replaced or glass replacements done, get those type of claims out of the way as fast as we possibly can. In terms of further mandates, we are currently in negotiation with our insurance companies, and we have also indicated that we are able to give a mandate of R1 million on commercial lines and 50,000 Rand on personal lines claims. And 500,000 for personal lines claims to some of our agent companies, depending obviously on their appetite to assist in terms of settling those claims. So it's a negotiation that's currently underway in terms of increasing mandate, and it depends also in terms of how fast we can track that around. But the current mandate that's signed in the market is for 50,000.
Excellent. Farida, thank you for that. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we can also commend Sasria on this, because we're seeing these proactive approaches coming into place. We're looking at mandates, the urgent claims under 50,000 Rand. I think for the small to medium enterprises out there, these are huge reliefs that are in place, and we're trying to cut down on red tape. And then obviously, on a case-by-case basis, there's mandates between 1 million to 500,000 Rand. Farida, thank you very much for that. I now want to take a step back, and I'd like to cross over to Zuriel. Zuriel, as we know, is the Managing Director for Sales Distribution at Marsh Africa. Zuriel, if you can explain to me how our audience, firstly, generally speaking, what are these documents that we need to put together to submit our claim as part one of the question? And I see there's some people that say you can submit to your insurer. The question is coming up, I can submit to my insurer or I can submit to my broker. Does it mean I have to submit to either or? Do I submit to both? What is the difference between submitting to my broker versus submitting to my insurer? So just to recap the question, we hear about these documents that need to be submitted. Can you give us some clarity as to what these documents are, generally speaking, and how the submission process works by a broker versus insurer? So Zuriel, over to you.
Perfect, thanks, Kirshen. And maybe let me tackle the second part of the question first in respect of who you should deal with. So if you have purchased your insurance, either in an individual capacity or for your business through a broker, then the broker is your first port of call. So many people would have used a financial intermediary association approved or FIA approved broker across the country to assist them in their risk and advisory requirements, assist them in calculating how much cover they required, what type of Sasria coupon they should purchase. Should it be for material damage only? Should they add BI? And so on. So it is in these times that as brokers, as Peter articulated earlier, we are here to help you in constructing your claim and submitting that through to the insurer, who will either pay on mandate or submit it through to Sasria. So in the first instance, if you have an intermediary who is advising you and helping you through this process, you should submit your claim through them. If you have purchased insurance from a direct insurer, so you may have purchased your insurance for your car or your household, or alternatively, businesses, as you know, have been most affected through a direct insurer, you will have to deal through them directly and submit through a call center or through the various contact points that they may have. So in terms of submission, I think very valid question. If you've purchased through a broker, your broker is here to help you through these times. So leverage that and engage with them in submitting your claim. And then secondly, in terms of the documentation, so as Peter articulated, there will be a communique coming out later today from Sasria number 94. I think, maybe just to add some color to that, it's essential that insureds submit accurate and complete information. And understandably, I think we're all going through a really challenging time of just understanding kind of what's hit us, where we're at, what we've lost, what we haven't lost, and the submission or construction of your claim form in the first instance can be a really helpful tool to help order your thinking. So you must submit a completed and accurate claim form. The second thing is important to have is a police reference, and I'm rather focusing on the information that one needs to gather in preparation for the claim. Carla has articulated that a claim needs to be submitted within 30 days. So insureds and the businesses on this call really need to ensure that they start to pull together the information required to ensure a speedy submission and resolution of your claim. So your claim form, a police reference number or case number from reporting your loss. Also look at supporting documents to help substantiate your proof of loss that can help the insurer or SASRIA expedite your payment. These could include things like preparing your financial statements. So if you've lost completely, if you had a complete loss of stock this year, you're aware of what stock you had on hand at the same time last year or the year prior as a contrast, or an average over the past 3 years. The second thing is photos. So make sure that if you've been to your the site of your loss, your business, you've got detailed photos, and perhaps you have a photo of a week or two before this loss, which has allows the insurer the ability to compare and contrast. Other things could be drone footage, showing the extent and enormity of the loss of your area, so that it's very clearly visible that it's not localized and it's at scale. Newspaper articles are what we've also encouraged people to, if you've got your local newspaper and there's an article that reflects the loss in your specific area, these can also be helpful. CCTV footage. In many instances, family-run businesses who don't have security guards, this is their first line of defense, and your closed circuit television footage is really helpful. And then any other proof of stock that you might have, which we understand might be difficult. You might be saying, Cyril, we everything we had was in our building, it was stolen, it was burnt. So look at third-party documents such as bank statements, proof of payment for those stock items that can help you in substantiating your claim.
Cyril, thank you for this. Whilst we're not going to be able to go through all the questions, but I think there are some important questions coming through, and I'm going to try and get through as many of them as possible. So you've mentioned that we need to get our before and after photographs submitted, CCTV footage, drone footage, newspaper articles, proof of stock, and if that's not available, try and call on the bank statements and try to get some information there. I also know that you've mentioned that it needs to be reported to SAP. So I'm not sure whether Farida wants to jump in here. I believe that there's an instance where Nadine has stated that apparently SASRIA will use a catastrophe code if it's not been reported to SAP. So Farida, I'm not sure whether you're in a position to answer this question. Is SASRIA going to use a catastrophe code, or do we advise or suggest to the audience that they still go to the SAP and report their claim if they haven't already?
Yeah, I think in order to answer that, I need to state that SASRIA is not disputing the merit of the event that occurred between the 9th and the 19th of July as a SASRIA peril. I think that's an important statement. So in terms of saying that it was a SASRIA peril, we are saying that between the 9th and the 19th, we do recognize that as our peril. And for that reason, we also know that people are struggling to get to the police, to get the police case numbers and police reports. So we are using an internal catastrophe code to manage this, which is a system code. But from a merit perspective for brokers and clients, we are not disputing that in that time period, in the affected areas, that there was a SASRIA peril active. We do encourage clients, though, to still, at the safest and earliest convenience, to get to the police, to lodge the case with the police as well. But at this point in time, we are saying that between the 9th and the 19th, that's the active time period that we are saying that was a SASRIA peril.
Okay, Farida, thank you for that. For those who battle to hear Farida, what I'm just going to do is just repeat what Farida has said to you guys. So SASRIA understands that it is a SASRIA peril, and there's an internal code being used, but at your earliest convenience and when it's safest for you to do so, they are encouraging you to go to your nearest SAP to lodge the claim and to get with the SAP. So I hope that helps. So lodge your claim regardless with the SAP. And hopefully that would help. Cyril, again, thank you very much for your answer and for comprehensively giving us an idea of how to submit the claim and how to show proof of loss. Now, I want to take another tone to this, because we've heard from Sazria, we've heard from the insurer perspective, we've heard the broker representative perspective. So we understand now that we don't go directly to Sazria, we target it via your insurer or your broker, if it's a direct insurer, or via your broker where the need arises. But we all know that insurance is a grudge purchase, and nobody wakes up in the morning saying, we're so excited to pay our insurance premiums today. And this negative sentiment, for the lack of a better word, comes about because there's some level of distrust between the insurer and the insured. And that has its own long history. But I think what is so important to highlight and so important to note, that today we have every single party represented here. So I'd like to pose the next question to Thokozile. So Thokozile, my question to you is, what support do I have if I am a business owner? Should I experience poor service or feedback from my broker or my insurer? What support do I have? How can you, at this panel, give some advice and assistance in this regard? Over to you, Thokozile.
Thank you, Kirshen. So ISA is a professional body in the insurance industry. The role we would play in this matter is really collaboration. We have various insurers, brokers, that are corporate partners of the Insurance Institute of South Africa, and we would play that role of providing support where an SME or a client requires some sort of assistance. We could coordinate them with the brokers, or coordinate them with an insurer if it's a direct relationship. So it will be a collaboration and really providing support to the affected clients, so that we eliminate discomfort and make sure that we pull together as an industry in making sure that the claims are resolved seamlessly. It's really a supportive role that we are going to be playing, and we are available and commit ourselves to providing that support as that a supporting body in the insurance industry.
Thank you, Thokozile. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. You heard it directly from Thokozile Mahlangu, the CEO of the Insurance Institute of South Africa, where she's saying that the IISA is committed to ensuring and supporting our insured parties wherever they are experiencing any form of unprofessional service or any form of prejudice. They are going to try their as best as possible to mobilize their resources to assist you. But what we can also see is we can really see the insurance sector mobilizing to fast-track claims as quickly as possible. In our earlier conversation, we saw Peter Olliott also commending Sazria and saying that there were 94 communications that have been released since the CAT event took place. Now, I want to go to Mpumi. So Mpumi, I'd like some insight from you here. We heard from our insurance panelists. We've heard from our experts. So let's look at the business owner themselves that are sitting here present day. And yes, this webinar is great. We now know how to submit our claims. We know that it has to, which channels to follow. We know what sort of documents that we need to put in place. We also now know that if we're experiencing any form of poor service, what further assistance and support is out there. From a Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry perspective, outside of this webinar, what other support is being offered to businesses that are experiencing loss?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Kirshen, for that. Hope you can hear me quite well. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Wonderful. Thank you. Firstly, as Durban Chamber of Commerce, we really are very sad to have gone through and experienced what took place last week. And we thought our support to you as a business owner in KZN or around Durban should go beyond just this webinar. So as Durban Chamber of Commerce, we got together with our business partners, being Gibbs and the panel here present, and we thought, often when you submit your claims, there may be glitches, there may be delays for some strange reason, or maybe your broker isn't available, or something has gone wrong somewhere and your claim is in process, it's been submitted. Obviously, through the process that's been discussed by yourselves earlier on. Durban Chamber has offered to have an email address for escalations only, where if you have any challenge or any problem with your claim, that is not normal course of business. It may be example, something to do with your timeline for submission to SASRIA that may be past the closed window or whatever the case would be, is to escalate to us, Durban Chamber. So we can then be almost like your additional voice to the process to support you. The email address will be shared on the chat, but it's info@durbanchamber.co.za. So we'll share that with you. Please use that. We're here to support you. And at any point in time, you are stuck somewhere, somehow. Durban Chamber is your partner in business to make sure that you get back on your feet, you get back to a space of making money, creating more jobs for our economy. So yes, there's additional support, but also at any point in time in future, you needing any other support to do with recovery in business. There are other spaces from the eThekwini municipality who have offered a support structure and funding support that you can tap into as well. We can also support you with directing where that should go to. So please do reach out to us. We'll make sure we hold your hand through this difficult time that you are facing with. Thanks, Christian.
Mpumi, thank you very much for that. And I see the questions are coming in fast and furious. So I will try to get to as many of them as possible. But as Mpumi said, this is not a one-hit wonder. There's a special task team that has been selected. So all your panelists present today have committed their time, their energy, their expertise to work together to ensure that we are, if there's any kinks or issues within the process, that they are going to be a champion or a voice for you, the consumer or the affected party, to try and their best way possible to expedite your claim. So Mpumi, again, thank you for that. And that email address, if you have any queries, please remember, this is not an email address to submit your claims to. All claims need to be submitted to the channels that have been spoken about. This is just a further support email address for those individuals that are experiencing any challenges outside of the normal claims process that has been explained by the parties. So that email address again is info@durbanchamber.co.za. That's info@durbanchamber.co.za. I see that there's a lot of questions also coming through around the turnaround times. And I think that's going to be assessed on a case-by-case basis in terms of how quickly the claims are being paid out. If the documents are correct, if everything is submitted on time, I think all parties here, we can see there's a meeting of mind, there's a consensus that all claims are going to be expedited as best that it can be. As we can see that SASRIA is putting out different mandates, engaging with different insurers to try and fast track the process. That is. Now, what I want to also reiterate is, and Farida has alluded to this, is everyone is talking about this time bar clause. And what is comforting me is where I'm seeing that people are saying insurers are, smaller companies are battling to assess the quantum of their loss. What we also seeing is from the stats and in today's poll that 53% of individuals affected have already submitted their claims. So that's a very positive sign. Farida, if you don't mind, can you just reiterate in terms of the time bar clause, in terms of submitting the claims documents? Can you just give us your feedback on that one last time, just for the purpose of clarity to the parties?
Yeah, thank you, Kirshen. So in terms of the time bar clause, what we're asking people to do is to submit the claim to the agent company, to notify the agent company or your broker, to the agent company via your broker, or where you have a direct insurance company, notify your insurance company of the claim. Let them register the claim with the information that you've got at hand. And from that perspective, we can then start collating the documentation that's needed. On some of the bigger damages that's been caused, loss adjusters, professionals are placed on the ground, and they will then help to formulate the claim in itself as well and do the quantification. But the first priority is to lodge your claim with your broker and your insurance company and advise them that you've suffered a loss and give them as much information that you've got available at that point in time for them to facilitate that your claim gets registered through to the company. So we advise people, even if you don't have everything to formulate a claim at this point in time, lodge the claim. And from that perspective, all the information then can be gathered. But your claim is then with the agent company to facilitate through to SASRI as well, or to settle within the mandates that we've given.
Fantastic. So just to reiterate again, in case you haven't heard what Farida has said, what Farida is saying, that there's a time frame within which you need to submit your claims. Even if you do not have all the information, submit your claims so that your claim is lodged and that the process can commence. Now, with that being said, Zuriel, if you don't mind, I'd like to get some insight from you. What could be the possible causes for a claim being delayed, and therefore obviously delaying the payment? So what are some of the causes that that we should look out for that could be delaying a claim?
Perfect, thanks, Christian. I mean, I think there are a few things. I mean, one, we must appreciate the work that is being done by SASRIA and this ecosystem as a whole, incorporating insurers, incorporating SASRIA, incorporating loss adjusters in assessing an event at this scale. So I think that what businesses can do, you know, from their part, is really ensuring that the documentation you submit is complete and accurate. Incomplete information causes an up and down, a to and fro between various parties, and ultimately a delay in settlement and payments to you. So provide as much information upfront, back to that conversation on claim form. The second thing is that false or inaccurate information may result in your claim being rejected in its entirety. So ensure that whatever you're articulating, you can substantiate, again, to our earlier point, to the best of your ability. To Farida's point in terms of the 30 days, and we've discussed this a few times on this call, make sure that you lodge the claim as soon as possible, and avoid any delays in submitting that document or the supporting documentation required. I think it's a very strong statement from SASRIA also to say, we acknowledge that between X and Y period, this is the peril, and this is what has happened. So we're seeing a strong willingness you know, in terms of helping the business community build back. Yeah, so I think those are the key aspects, Christian, that I'd highlight to people to focus on, to ensure that, you know, minimize the delays from your side, so that once that claim is in you know, in the ecosystem, it can move through as quickly as possible. Acknowledging that there are a finite number of people who can get out, assess these claims, quantify them, and submit you know, the next phase of what's required to SASRIA and the insurers.
Zuriel, thank you very much for that. So we understand what the delays are that could cost it in a perfect setup. And I know, again, I'm putting you on the spot here, but could you give us an idea of how long would it take for a claim to be paid out on average?
Was that question to me, Christian?
Yes, Zuriel.
Sorry. Yeah, I think it's difficult for us now to put a specific time period in the sand. I think what we're dealing with, and as you acknowledge at the start of this conversation, is an event of a scale and nature that we have not witnessed. I think what you can be assured is that through the value chain, and using this as an expression of collaboration between brokers, insurers, and SASRIA as a whole, we are committed to getting claims paid as quickly as possible. to getting businesses back on track as quickly as possible. Our role as an insurance industry is that of economic enablement. Our role is ensuring that we can help people and communities, businesses, families through these times to get back on their feet as quickly as possible. So rest assured that we're pushing hard to ensure that it happens as quickly as possible. But I think in terms of a finite time, I'd hate to anchor your members in a date, or everybody's kind of setting calendar reminders. But maybe Farida can weigh in a little bit more there.
Okay, so Zuriel, thank you for that. Farida, do you want to just jump in on this?
Yeah, thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Zuriel. I can only echo what Zuriel has said. We are committed to turn these claims around as fast as we can, which is for the exact purpose why SASRIA went with our partner companies, the insurance companies as well, and reaching out via our broker fraternity to expedite the claim in itself, and also why we exactly have given the mandate last week, Monday already, on the 50,000 Rand as an example to fast track some of the smaller claims, and why we're busy contracting now for the bigger mandates, because we do recognize that we need to unitedly as an industry respond to this, and those partnerships are important. And all the facilities that we've mentioned in this call today is all aimed and geared to get this claim settled as fast as we can.
Excellent. So Zuriel, Farida, thank you for that. So members listening today, I think it's what we can see is we can see the strong commitment, and the question of how long a claim is going to take to be paid out is on a case-by-case basis. But what we can see is that there's a sense of commitment. We can see a sense of movement, and we can see that that the parties at play and the stakeholders involved are most certainly trying. One other question that is coming up quite often is business interruption insurance. So people are saying my business may not have been looted or affected, but because my business or my retail store is in a mall and I can't get to it and I can't work because it's closed, what sort of business interruption insurance is available, and how is that going to be working? So I want to take this as an open-ended question to any of our panel members. Do any one of our panel members want to take a jab at this? So thank you, Carla.
Sorry, Kirsten, I think Farida is probably best placed to answer this, but it comes down to what the client themselves have selected to insure themselves for on their SASRIA coupon, I would imagine. I think Farida could probably get more insights into that, though.
Thanks,
yes, thank you,
Carla.
Thank you, Carla. I can actually elaborate and just confirm what Carla's just said, that it depends on what cover the client has selected on their SASRIA coupon, firstly. So what was on risk at the time of the event in terms of what was covered and what was selected to be covered on the SASRIA coupon would be what we would look at settlement. In terms of the SASRIA business interruption, it's not a conventional business interruption. So I would advise people to look at our SASRIA, www.sasria.co.za. Under the tab that says brokers and insurers, there is all our regulations and our policy wordings, and how the product works is available on the system on our website. And also please speak to your broker and your insurer as to what cover is in play at the time of the event. The SASRIA business interruption coupon is a coupon that attaches to material damage. So in other words, there must be material damage to a property for the business interruption to initiate on the claim. It's not an automatic cover that goes along with our material damage, which is the primary damage policy. But please speak to your broker and your insurance company to ensure that the way your cover is structured is the claim that you're trying to formulate falls within the way your cover is structured at the time of the loss.
Okay, Farida, thank you for that. So it all depends on the type of cover that you have and how your policy has been structured. And that information can be taken directly from your broker or your insurer. So that is one aspect. What I'm finding as well, and I'm going through the commentary, is, and I think by explaining this would add more, would create more context to it. Can we get some sort of understanding in terms of what reinsurance is, And how does this work, and how there's protection? Yes, we're seeing 20 billion rand of claims that are at play, but I think this concept of reinsurance, if explained, would give our claimants some sort of peace of mind or ease. So, Carla, if you don't mind just giving us some insight into.
Sure. So I'm not going to go into the technicalities of reinsurance because it is very technical, but reinsurance is basically insurance for insurers. So all insurance companies, with the exception perhaps of the very, very big ones who take a lot of self-retention, have their own insurance. And this takes various forms. So you can have proportional or quota share reinsurance, where for every 100 Rand, if you have a 50% quota share, for example, for every 100 Rand of premium, you pay 50 Rand across to your reinsurers. And then in the same regard, for every 100 Rand claim, you recover 50 Rand from your reinsurers. So that's a traditional sort of quota share reinsurance arrangement. You also have what you call non-proportional, so where you would buy down your net exposure. So if you decide the most you ever want to retain is 50 million per claim, you'll buy down everything to 50 million. And then you have, of course, catastrophe programs, what we call CAT programs, and those cover the events that we've seen in the past week. They would cover things such as floods, earthquake, big CAT events, the Knysna fires a few years ago, for example, as well, a CAT event. So there you would have also, the insurance company would have one deductible and recover monies from their various reinsurers panels. In our world as Emerald, we have a very large reinsurance program because we do corporate business. And the same for most of the insurance companies in South Africa, and that includes Sasria. As Emerald, we also have a binder. So we do a lot of facultative reinsurance as well. It's another type of reinsurance where it's almost a per risk reinsurance. You buy out pieces of a risk, for example, that you might not be able to keep yourself. So you may not have in your reinsurance contracts, you might not be able to write, for example, political terrorism strike business. So if you have clients that want that cover, you have to buy it out through a Sasria up to a portion, or after that into a London market or into another market. So there's various types of reinsurers. But what insurers really do is they use reinsurers to transfer portions of risk of their portfolios to only carry the risk that they're comfortable keeping themselves. So I hope that makes sense. That's reinsurance 101.
So thanks for that, Carla. So basically what we're saying is that all the risks that are at play, there has been reinsurance on that. So yes, we're seeing such large quantums, but both in the insurer and Sasria themselves would have sought reinsurance for major CAT events such as this. So there is a sense of peace of mind that there is some form of reinsurance at play.
Yeah, so yes, there is reinsurance at play. And actually there was a press release in the London market yesterday about the riots and strikes, and where the London reinsurers have pledged their support already. So I think it's quite positive news from the international space. They expect obviously rate increases and all of the things that come following CAT events, this is one. But I think they have pledged their support to the insurance companies in South Africa during this time.
Okay, so Carla, again, thank you for that. And so whilst we're seeing such high quantums, we're saying that there's reinsurance in place. We're referencing articles from reinsurers in London stating that there's commitment to the process, but obviously we understand what happens thereafter. There are going to be increases and spikes in your premiums. One of the other questions that's coming about, and I see it's being asked over and over again on our chats and on our Q&As, and that is whether they would be covered if it's on a business interruption side of things. And it's all dependent on the type of cover that you have selected. So what we're doing now is, and from what I'm hearing from what the panel is saying and what Sazria is saying, insurers and brokers alike, is that you need to engage with your broker or that particular insurer to identify exactly what you're covered for. And this word that I'm hearing is coupon. Check what that coupon or Sazria cover has and what it's covered for. And that in essence is going to help you determine exactly what we have in place. With only under 10 minutes to go, I'm going to try and wrap up the session as quickly as possible, and at the same time, try to get as many questions answered. But remember, we understand that we can only cover so much in a 1-hour session, and that is why the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry have created a support line to support you through this process for all the anomalies that occur outside of the regular claims process. And that email address again is info@durbanchamber.co.za. Please channel all the questions that we've been unable to answer, and hopefully we can get a response to you as quickly as possible with regards to that. And I see some great questions coming in terms of how do we know that we are covered properly. So maybe off the back of this, we have an education session or an information brochure that goes out, get more insurers, more brokers involved to help our SMEs that are affected by this in terms of how to cover their goods and to cover their businesses adequately. In terms of the other question that's coming into place is we're seeing a lot of questions around the part of being underinsured. So Zuriel, if you don't mind, can you just touch on that very quickly, this concept of underinsurance, and if as a business I'm underinsured, what is going to be the impact to me and how does that look?
Sure, thanks, Christian. I mean, I think times like this point out the importance and value of insurance in the first instance, and secondly, to the point that you've raised a couple of times, advice. A number of individuals on the call have articulated that you're covered for what you have purchased cover for. Which seems simplistic and elementary, but it is. It's about going back and making those checks. And from an underinsurance perspective, and this is where the element of advice comes in working with your broker to ascertain what is your asset value, what is your potential exposure, and what should you be purchasing. So underinsurance is exactly that. You have assets to the value of, let's take for argument, 2 million Rand, and you have purchased insurance cover to the value of 1 million Rand, okay? In the event that you've now had a loss and the entire asset value of 2 million is gone, you will only be eligible to receive a maximum of 1 million Rand, okay? So you cannot receive more financial indemnification than what you have paid for from an insurance perspective and what you have opted to purchase. Similarly, and important to note here, is if your loss is less than that 1 million Rand that you've purchased cover for, you will only receive 50% or the rateable portion. So you will. It's a principle that we refer to as average, and you are deemed to be the insurer of the remaining 50% up to your full limit of 1 million. So I hope that that makes sense. And again, here in terms of those values, much like the cover, you will be covered for what is on your coupon at the event of or at the time of loss.
Thank you for that, Zuriel. And I think it gives us some form of clarity. Now, I just want to go over to Thokozile Mashlanga with 5 minutes left. Can you give us some of your closing statements with regards to this so that our audience here has some form of takeaway?
Thank you, Christian. I think just to wrap up and reiterate what all the panelists have said, it's important that you submit the claims within the 30 days. So if you haven't done so, please get in touch with your broker. If you've got a broker, or if you're dealing directly with an insurer, please get in touch with them, submit the claim, even if you don't have the proof of quantum or the additional documentation yet, but get the claim in the system so that it is known that you were also impacted. It's also important to understand that you will only be indemnified, put back in the position you were in prior to the loss. There won't be any enrichment in the process. That is the purpose of insurance. And we want to give you comfort that as an insurance industry, we are pulling together, we are working together to make sure that you are treated with the appropriate service, and we are committed in making sure that this experience is that you would want to experience. And SASRA has been proactive in the media, communicating and responding to a few questions that have been posed to them. And we want to just reassure all the clients of the insurance industry that we are here as an industry. We are here to provide the peace of mind, and we are committed to doing that. And we are pulling together, as you can see on the panel, there is intermediary broker, there's an insurer, and there's SASRA itself. So the time made available to everyone here just to share knowledge and to simplify the process to you. That's exactly an indication of the industry that we want you to experience. So we remain committed, and we wish you all the best in the process, and we remain available to provide any support in coordinating or linking you up with the right people wherever you may be experiencing challenges. Thank you, Kirshen.
Thanks, Dr. Zile. So the commitment is there. So what we're hearing from the Insurance Institute is all parties are committed to ensuring that there's a speedy claims process and that you are put back in the position that you were prior. So Farida, from a SASRA perspective, your closing statements, please.
Thank you, Kirshen, and thank you again for having us on your webinar today. From a SASRA perspective, again, I can only iterate what Dr. Zile said. We are here to put you in this position that you were prior to the loss. And SASRA is committed to honor all claims from our insured clients on the coupons that they have purchased on this and from the event that occurred. So we are committed. We will honor our claims. We will make sure that the clients are indemnified. And please speak to your broker, speak to your agent company, get your claim lodged. As an industry, we are also recognizing the great support that we have received as SASRA from our insurance partners, the agent companies and the brokers, and we continue to work together as an industry to ensure that this event that's happened is managed in the best way possible in the interest of you as the end client and consumer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Farida. Loving the sentiments that there is so much of gratitude and so much of coming together between brokers, insurers, intermediaries. The entire country is coming together to help restore economic activity. With 1 minute to go, I'd like to hand over to the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industries board member, Mpumi Langa. Mpumi, I'd love to hear your closing statements, please.
Thank you, Kirshen, for that. Thank you to the panelists for offering the support to our Durban Chamber members and the businesses in Durban. We are here to support you. For my side, really, is to say, let's rebuild together as a province, as KZN, as Durban. There are questions that have been raised here that pertain to additional support that may come from government. We are going to be looking to respond to those directly, hopefully. There was a meeting with the mayor last night with business, and the Mayor Fetegwini did express that there are different options that are being assessed to support business additionally to what they'll be claiming from the insurance companies. Once we're clear on that messaging, we will then find a way to communicate. It may be through a webinar or purely an email from Durban Chamber expressing what the support would look like to them. But during this time, we are going through a tough time, but please submit on time. If you have issues, do speak to us and look at our communications to you to update you on what's happening on the ground to support you to recover in your business and get things back in order in the province. Thank you, Kirshen.
Thank you, Mpumi. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is time. Unfortunately, I can't cross over to our other panelists for their closing comments. But to end today's session, I'd like to just thank each and every one of you, from our panelists who have taken the time to be here, to you, the business owner and audience joining us today. Thank you for being part of a conversation that matters. We truly appreciate it. And please remember, it does not end here. Any queries, email it to info@durbanchamber.co.za, and we will try to get those questions through to you as quickly as possible. Again, you've been a fantastic panel and an even amazing audience. Together, we will ensure economic recovery as a collective. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time.